Welcome to the Childbirth Joy Prenatal Hypnosis. This is Comfort Techniques Part 3. Some more on pain management strategies. So just to cover for this video, we're going to talk about, really briefly, non-hypnosis strategies. Just a quick review of Part 2 of this series, and then diving into the material that you're here to learn about. So using your imagination, using mental techniques, and then the classic hypnosis techniques. Now, just moving into part 3 now of this video. So we've done a recap of part 2. A lot of these there's crossover. So just to know that they look like discrete units as I'm talking about them, but there's a lot of crossover with all of these ideas. And again, the goal is not to be proficient at everything. The goal is to just find what works and get that working for you. Use it, and you may be able to enhance a particular strategy and make it work even better for you. So we're going to cover the topic of imagination. Later there'll be the mental strategies and mental techniques, and then the classic hypnosis techniques. So with imagination, images, changing the sensation, the concept of shape, size, and color, making it smaller, moving it out. So these are all just different ideas that you can use your imagination for. And you may have some clear ideas prior to the birth of what you want to focus on in your mind. But my story from my first birth, when I used hypnosis to help with the birth, I didn't have anything identified as where I would go in my mind in the birth. So my mind provided me some ideas just all by itself. I didn't think about it. It just suddenly popped into my head. And ironically enough, even though I was planning a home birth and did have a home birth, the imagery that I used in the birth was getting an epidural. And I quite enjoyed the entire process. Imagine getting an IV and being swabbed down and getting the medication. It was no distress, no contraindication, no, contradiction as to what I was actually doing and what I was seeing in my mind. So again, you just don't want to use any images that cause any distress or make the pain worse. And, you'd be pretty clear if something is making it worse. So just stop doing it and find something else that you do like. So there's lots of images that work, and I see a spelling error here. A blanket of anesthetic, it doesn't work for you, it wraps you. So you want a blanket of anesthetic wrapping your body, ideally the middle section of your body, and maybe you can go in some detail in your mind of what this blanket looks like and feels like. You could be imagining breathing in anesthetic especially with the birth surges, and breathing out any pain or discomfort, just letting that go. A lot of the classical literature in birth visualization is that you imagine that the cervix is a flower and it's opening petal by petal, and that can be quite nice. There are some interesting time-lapse videos on YouTube with flowers opening up, and that might be an interesting thing to do in late pregnancy. After 37 completed weeks, just watching some of these videos, imagining your cervix opening up so that by the time you get to 40, 41 weeks, that your cervix is really ripe, really ready, really soft, and maybe even a number of centimeters open. You can imagine that somebody secretly filled a tub or your shower water with just a huge bottle of something like lidocaine or xylocaine, and so that as you settle into the tub, you're settling into this amazing body of just natural anesthetic that's just going to start soaking in through the pores of your skin. Some people like the idea of having a helium balloon and they just fill it with that pain and that discomfort, and then just see that balloon getting more and more full, and then you just let go of the string, fill another balloon. So any way that you could imagine releasing and letting go, because usually when we're in pain and discomfort, we kind of hang on a little bit. So you want to be letting go of that. You could imagine the sensation of birth is light, and it's coming through your body and leaving your body. So it's just light moving through light. You create the detail of your special place. So you could just really focus on, this picture shows a hammock, so what that hammock looks like, and getting into the hammock and what it feels like to swing in the hammock, and the warm air and the beautiful hot sun and the sun glistening off the water, all of that kind of stuff. The more detail you get into it, the less it distracts us away from what we're feeling in our body. And going into detail about what it's like to be with your baby in the days, weeks, and months after the birth, and just being, a mother, and what that's like, and how good that'll feel, and that maybe in that future recollection that you're doing, you're looking back at the birth and thinking, yeah, I did it. I got through it, and everything went okay, and it was wonderful. It was a wonderful day. So again, the rule is do what works for you. If it's not working, stop doing it, move on. You can use your imagination to literally change the sensation that you're feeling. So normally when we're feeling pain or discomfort, we just label it as pain, and then that's kind of it. And then, of course, the mind gets very distressed that we're in pain, so it wants to find some way to relieve it. So what some people find helpful is they say, oh, that's just pressure, and after the pressure comes release. Or that's just tingling, and I can cope, I can manage with that. So as you look at this list of different sensations, to find one that you do like, that is appealing to you. This is in the category of imagination, so you could imagine what that sensation looks like and make some changes to it. But just as easily, for people who have a harder time with imagining, and especially if they have a hard time with visualizing, it's okay to just tell yourself, oh, that's just tingling. And that seems to work quite nicely, as long as you like the sensation of the tingling over the sensation that you were having. Now, you can also tell yourself that a part of your body is going to sleep. So we're looking at the middle section of the body, so belly button down to upper legs, front, sides, and back. The area that's affected in childbirth is really just that area above the pubic bone, but I like the concept of just having a kind of a buffer zone and just filling more of that middle section of the body. So you can tell yourself that this middle section is going to sleep. And you could just as easily just tell yourself this area is going numb. And that may, certainly if that's believable, absolutely, I would do that. And even if it's not believable, sometimes it has worked for people to just say num, 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 and focus on that idea of it being numb. And then somehow you may just kind of go, yeah, it's starting to be better. It's not bothering me as much. And holy smokes, I really think it is starting to go kind of numb in that area. Now, shape, size, and color. So what you do is that pain or that discomfort, so whether it's physical pain or emotional pain, so all these strategies work for either type, to just identify what that pain looks like. And once you get an image that represents that pain, then you change the image. So somebody may say, oh, it's um, a green ball, or it's a red square, or so it might just be a very abstract image. My husband years ago twisted his ankle, and I ran him through this. So I didn't do any hypnosis. I just said, if you were to imagine what this pain looks like, what does it look like? And he pretty quickly said, "Oh, it looks like a stick." And he indicated that it was, maybe about 10 or 12 inches long. So I just then said, okay, just do whatever you need to do to make that more comfortable. And he took about a minute. He opened his eyes and said, okay, it's a toothpick now. So he just knew what to do with that image of that stick, and the pain came way down for him. It can be remarkably quick and easy. It's great for parents to use with kids, massage therapists, and anything where you're just kind of on the run in that regard. Let's just see here. Where are we here? So making it smaller, where you just imagine shrinking it down. So you might imagine that it's a grape and it goes down to a raisin or whatever size it is. You want it starting to shrink down, get smaller and smaller. I did have a client who was she didn't do hypnosis, so this just happened spontaneously, where she reported to me that she thought maybe she was in labor, and all she was feeling was just this little area on her back that was about the size of a dime, but it was coming every 2 to 3 minutes. So it didn't sound like labor over the phone, but when I went to see her, she was definitely in strong active labor. And then moving it out. So part of the difficulty with pain is that we can sort of feel like it gets stuck in the body, but pain does move around. And so what you want to do, people, who have headaches, will talk about how the headache kind of moves around in their head. So just imagining that you're moving the pain down, turn it into light, move it down your legs, out the soles of your feet, or it's evaporating off your belly and getting smaller that way, so that we can let other people be aware of what is available for them. So thank you so much for sitting through this video. I know it was a long slog, but thank you. I really appreciate it. And it's something that will help you for life. So this is not just for childbirth. This is for all sorts of areas of life, for whether it's, touch wood, physical pain. Hopefully that's not something that you ever have to deal with, or emotional pain. So, these just the different things that we have to deal with in life. You can use one or more of these strategies to help you get through it. So thank you.